The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this crease around this. And I'm going to use this little stylus I have here. Probably anything would work. And I have a little bowl of water with a sponge that I'm going to use to get this wet so it will form easier. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. I'll end up going over this several times to make a nice heavy dent. I want to kind of mark it out first. Okay, and I'll go over it again. I'll show you a close-up of this in just a moment. Oops, I almost started to go off there. Okay, so I may go over that a few more times and just let it dry, and then I'll get it wet again to fold it to the right shape. Okay, that little groove around the edge is pretty much done. I'm going to go ahead and put some more water on this and form it to this shape so it'll fit like a belt loop. So this piece of aluminum here mimics what the belt is. So I'll form this around it. Okay, you can kind of see that it's now formed to the correct shape. Okay. Get a better idea what that looks like. It'll get sewn on the back side in here onto the rest of the knife sheath. This loop is getting closer to being dry. I've made several of these and I'm going over them one more time here to accentuate these grooves in the leather. And I've got it wrapped around this piece of aluminum to keep the belt loop shape intact while I'm doing this. nearly dry. The next thing I'm going to do is there's a little crease here and one here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the piece of leather that will form that fire starter holder. It'll end up fitting in here like this. So I'll put a crease here and here. Going to dampen a little bit to make it easier to do that. I'm pressing fairly hard. I could do this with a punch, but I don't have a punch that forms just a straight crease. I have done this in the past with just a flat tip screwdriver also, but it needs to be fairly blunt. It can't be sharp or you'll cut through the leather. Okay. You can see the two creases there. So I guess the next thing, I'll probably do that a few more times before it completely dries, and then I'll wet it again and fold it over so it's in the basic shape. The piece of leather is dry now, and those two creases, I've kind of gone over them several times. You can see them in there. So I'm going to go ahead and wet it, and I'm going to form it around this ink pen, which will kind of act like this fire starter. So this time, instead of just wetting one side, I'm going to wet both the top and bottom to make the leather more flexible. You can already see it's more flexible. It almost bends by itself there. I'm going to go ahead and use these two pieces of aluminum to kind of give me a nice sharp edge to bend against there. I think I'll just leave it like that for a little bit. I'm going to still end up having to fold it open to do some work, but at least this will give me the basic shape, and it'll keep this leather from splitting when I fold it over if it was dry. So the other thing that I'm going to end up having to do at some point is, you can see here there's stitching. I put some extra stitching right here to make sure that the opening where the fire starter goes into stays the same size and doesn't start working its way back over to this other stitch. Okay, I'm just going to let that sit and dry.